Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Full Exposure with me, your host, Brian Kelly. Today, my guest is Kathryn Chaplow. She's someone who, over the last 14 years, has built one of the most successful and unique interior design firms in West Michigan that works in both residential and commercial design. In our conversation, she tells me why she never puts photos of her pancakes on Instagram, about how she's largely built her firm without creating a lifestyle brand around her personality and her social media streams. We also talk about how the runaway successes of programs on HGTV, shows on Netflix like Marie Kondo, pose very specific challenges to designers today. And Kathryn is just somebody who's relentlessly positive. I think that's the best way for me to describe her. She's been a friend, a client, and I'm just always blown away by how she presents herself and how she carries herself. And if you're looking to run a business, I don't know that there's a better way to approach outwardly the community and how she services her clients. I just think there's nobody who does it better than her. So I just want to do one little plug, and that is just to mention again that this podcast is fueled by passion and Brian Kelly Photography and Film and Brian Kelly Productions. As always, if you are thinking about embarking on a photo or video project, please reach out to me. I love working with companies of all different sizes and all different budget ranges. I'd love to start a dialogue with you and see if we can collaborate on something together. All right, here we go. Kathryn Chaplow and I in the studio chopping it up. Enjoy.
It was just, I cringed. My kids, do your kids use this word cringy?
They use the word and they say it wrong. Awkward. They don't say awkward. They say, it's the W's hard. I can't even get
Awkward?
it. They say it's not New York. It's like the most Michigan accent ever. And they're it's awkward.
Oh, my kids say cringy.
Cringy. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So if they had heard
Like
me.
my daughter Maddie's famous for this. Oh my gosh. That was so awkward. And I mean, do you mean awkward? I'm always saying that to her, and she's like, "Shut up, Dad." She's a senior now,
As she
so
should.
I can't really.
That's what they say.
Yeah, I'm just around to be told to be quiet. Basically, it's my role as a father.
That's okay.
Dad, that's enough. That I hear that a lot. Dad, that's enough. Stop.
Aww.
I'm like just trying to be me.
You're like, other people think I'm funny, kids.
Yeah, exactly.
I say that a lot,
I'm
too.
killing in the 50-year-old demo. Like that is those are my peeps. I realize you're 17.
50 and 5.
Yeah, exactly. There's the same mental problems, that 5-year-olds have. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Kathryn Chaplow, for coming on. We just finished a photo shoot, right?
We did.
We've worked together a few times. I've documented a lot of your homes and projects.
Beautifully.
For probably 50. When did you get started? How long have you been in your own practice now?
Well, I always think of my eldest son, Calvin, who is turning 14, so 13 and a half years when he was 6 months old.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. So about that time, we've worked together off and on over the years, and you had some of the most beautiful homes. But we've done also portrait shoots together. I've done shots of your staff and stuff. But do you like being photographed? Like we just did a photo shoot. Is it something that you can enjoy the process, or are you too wrapped up into your own head about like, oh, what am I looking like?
It's not easy, but Brian, I do like it when you take my photograph because you make it fun, put me at ease, but in general, no. It's hard to find people, I think, who enjoy having their photo. Do you find that a lot of people like to have their photo taken?
No, nobody likes having their photo. Well, outside of a few people, of course, like professional talent or like that's their job. And so I don't even think of it as liking it or not liking it. They have a job and a role to play for that, whatever that project is. And it's my job to direct, whether it's photography or video. I'm going to try to elicit something out of them that I need for the client for the projection of everything. But in general, I often say I'm like a dentist. Like nobody really wants to have their photograph taken.
So here's what I think, though, honestly. I think there's a mental game going on, because I think people would love to see a really good photo of themselves. It does feel nice when a good photographer captures a great photo of you, but if there's some guilt that comes with that, of feeling
Yeah, you're not, especially in West Michigan, you're not supposed to go, damn, I look pretty good in that.
exactly, and so
We suppress all those good feelings about ourselves.
you don't want to revel in the photo shoot.
Yeah.
You don't want to try to look great in the picture, because then you're like, who do I think what am I trying to be here?
It's all that back channel talking in your head.
Yes.
No, my biggest aha and one of my biggest leaps in my career is when I finally figured out that what people didn't like about the portraits I made of them had nothing to do with me. They just carried all their baggage and insecurity to their portrait and their own face, and their
Right.
chin they think isn't right, and they're too fat today, and whatever, they don't like their hair. It's a million things, and it's like but when I could separate, of course I want my portraits to please people, much like you want your clients thrilled with the designs that you do for them. But once I figured out that it wasn't all with me being a bad photographer, then I could work through the psychology, as opposed to being insecure of my process or my lighting style or whatever. So that was like a big moment where I was like, oh, okay, I do know what I'm doing. I just need to get people through the process of the psychology of having their portrait taken.
So how do you do that? Like, how do you
Ask the questions, okay? This is not the Kathryn Chaplow interior design podcast. Although you should have one. But anyway, I don't know. Everybody's different. So it's like, I think you have a good read, though, on people. Like, I think that temperature taking that you get when you meet somebody, you have a quick read of what their mood is and how much you can engage or not engage with them on certain things. Some people just project they're funny, or they like to crack around, and other people are very serious.
Yes.
So do you feel like you react to that sort of psychology with people when you first meet them? Clients. I'm speaking specifically to your practice now.
Yes. So I'd say that I'm a very responsive designer. And so what a client gives me is definitely necessary. Like, it's necessary to my process. So I'm jumping right in here.
Yeah, I love it. Let's go.
I just think that's a really good question. Like, asking,
Because you're not just picking you're not just picking colors that coordinate. You're thinking about how people live their lives
very
and
much
how
so.
they interact with space, and that's different for every family, every business that you work with. Whether it's
Yes.
commercial or residential application.
It's very personal.
Yeah.
It's very personal, and we work with people for a long time sometimes, and sometimes it's over years. Like, we might work with one client over many projects over more than a decade. So you really get to know them, and you can design for them a little more intuitively. You can just know what they're going to like and how to steer them and how to design the process as much as the interior for them. But people who don't give me anything,
Tough, right?
just get stuck.
Yeah.
I just get stuck.
It's very hard without they got to lead you a little bit. Even in like the projects I do, I might be creating imagery of somebody that works at a corporation. Well, the whole brand of that corporation might play into the color palette I pick or their branding strategy. Like, there's a million questions I like to ask, which you ask a million questions too, and get people to think about things, in terms of how can they articulate to you what they want. In a very visual, it's hard to articulate visuals.
But you have to draw that out of them. You have to draw out of them what their priorities are.
Yeah.
And you have to get their honest answer about how they live. Honestly.
Right.
How do you live, or how are you going to use this
What if it's a guy?
space?
Is it just pretty much a recliner chair and a 85-inch television now these days?
The bigger the television, the better.
The man cave is a real thing, isn't it?
We do have a lot of, a lot of men do like big TVs.
Well, yeah, we were just talking about streaming and Hulu,
Yeah.
and there's so much content.
Yeah, it's true.
You just want to absorb it. What now? They're not that expensive. Remember when those TVs used to be like $8,000, and now those same ones are like you can see them at Costco for $300.
I know, and people are just wheeling them out.
Yeah, they are. They're like a line. It looks like there was an earthquake and they're looting them. Like there's that many TVs going out of Costco all the time
Just
or Walmart.
wheel it out.
Yeah,
The kids can ride in a separate car.
crates,
Yeah.
just pallets of televisions.
We design around a lot of televisions, around a lot of technology. It doesn't bother me. I think it's cool.
Well, that can be, that can be a gathering place, a consistent gathering place. Your design,
It's like a
Perspective.
fireplace.
except way more entertaining to look at, right?
Yeah. ESPN.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that.
We were. So 14 years ago,
Yes.
you started Kathryn Chaplow Interior Design. Mm-hmm. And it was just you at the time?
It
Just-
was.
Because you have a staff of how many now? 3, 4?
No, there are 5 of us total.
Get
so
outta
there
here.
are 4 other designers. Yeah. 4 other people who work
You
in the
titan of
studio.
industry.
It's so much fun. And we have like a little tiny studio. It's
I
only-
gotta say, your team is the best.
Thanks, Brian.
Your whole staff they mirror you, though. I gotta give you a compliment because you are always so kind and warm. And there's times I'm thinking, Chaplow, are you putting me on? You can't be in a good mood all the time. And I know this other side to you that just I love too. This could be like
Thank you.
a little sarcastic and biting,
Yes.
but it's never mean, never. But you know when you're not happy.
Yeah, I think you have to, that's intentional. Like we talk about it in our team meetings. It's our motto to work with joy. And it's very intentional that this is not brain surgery.
Right.
That what we do is truly, like how lucky, it's such a great career. It's such a great job to help
Yeah.
people design space that they love or work in a space that's beautiful. I mean,
Well, I would say that if I had to say what you do ooze many times is gratitude.
oh, thank you.
You do. Like
Thank you.
For instance, I said, when you got here, I said, it was freezing today. It's like 8 degrees
Yeah.
and it's blowing hard wind and it's terrible outside.
Dreadful.
And it's March, whatever. It's probably, it feels like it should be the middle of June, but we're in the midst of March. But I said, can I get you, because you're like, I'm cold. Oh man, it's cold out there. I go, can I get you coffee, some tea? And you're like, I'd like some hot water. And
Yes.
I can heat up some water for you. And I gave you a cup of water and you're like, oh, thank you. Like, it was so, like, you were so.
Well, you didn't try to force like a coffee on me or a tea. You
Yeah.
gave me my hot water.
If you have simple needs, I have simple answers.
It was really good too. Thank you.
Well, water it's Kentwood tap water out here. So I don't know how many times it's probably triple filtered, like an IPA or something.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It tastes
Smooth
great.
finish. I don't know.
I've got it in my
Are you
safe.
getting any notes after the water? Are there any, like, what's dancing on your palate? Take a sip.
It's a little bit of finish. You know that stuff you put in the dishwasher?
Yeah, exactly. Those are called Tide Pods. Yeah. Everybody's eating them. They're
It's
so good.
delicious. It tastes great, actually. It's very good water. I'm going to compliment Kentwood.
I got the Meyer spring water, but I don't know.
That's good.
Okay, well, take me back. So I want to know about this arc of your firm growing because
Okay.
did you start? So let's go back one other step because you really got started under Rock Kaufman, right?
Well, yeah. Well, he was like that's the third place I worked.
Okay.
So I worked in Tennessee for a design firm in Nashville, and that was just an amazing experience. I interned there after I graduated from college and then got a job. So that was really cool, special effects. And then we moved to Michigan, and I worked at Klingman Furniture.
Yeah.
And it seems like everybody worked at Klingman Furniture.
Everybody did.
All the designers. Rock worked there, Tyler worked there.
Yeah.
And then I got a job at Urban House.
Yeah,
which
because
was-
Rock went off and opened his own store,
Yes.
and then you left to go do interior design and retail sales there, right?
Yes. And Rock was way ahead of the curve in Grand Rapids. He saw this cool urban space that was retail and design and was on this old brick road, in downtown. And he was way ahead of what everyone else was, I think, ready to support in the community at the time.
Yeah.
Right now it seems like the perfect time for that, but that was
No, I know nobody was living downtown. There weren't condos and apartments, and he was probably, because I had a art gallery across the street, and I used to see you all the time there.
Yes.
And you used to come over for free and like do little shush in the windows and
So
candles
great.
and stuff.
I loved it in there.
You always had, that was a very cool space. No one wanted to buy photography as art.
I bought some.
Well, you did.
It was gorgeous.
At a discount, but whatever. You're not full retail.
I was promoting.
Yeah, exactly. I had to pay back for all the candles you bought me.
It was great.
But no, but anyway, that part of downtown was just coming on board. There's just the restaurant and culture and the arena and all that other stuff. So
Yes.
that was a long time ago. But anyway, so the downtown has progressed. So you work with rock for a while, and then you're going to have a kid, and you're like, I think I can do this now on my own.
I just decided very spontaneously I was actually going to come back to work part-time after having Calvin. And the day he arrived, I called Chris. I mean, I didn't even know I was going to go in.
Chris is your husband.
Chris
Yeah.
is my husband.
Yeah.
And I was due like a week later, and I called Chris and I said, I really think I need to bring everything home, like all my files, just all of my my design books, all of my stuff.
Yeah.
I think I need to bring it home so that I can work from home for a while, and I've got to do it today, right now.
You needed to nest after nesting, right?
So he came.
You were work nesting.
I was work nesting,
Yeah.
but I just felt like compelled to get everything out of my desk, all my
Sure.
pens and pencils. So he came and helped me. We filled up our cars and moved everything home. And then I went into labor that night. So it was just like this kind of, I don't know, that happens to you when there's this force kind of took over. And
Yeah, things are meant to be, and you're being pulled outside of, things, you have an inkling, and then something else just like will pull you in a way that is at a speed that you're not consciously moving mentally,
Yes, exactly. Like there's something else happening.
Yeah.
And then, and I'm still very close with Rock and with Marion, who was his partner in that business. I
Yeah.
still do a lot of business with her, and it was such a good experience. But that was just the time. I was ready to embark, like to start my own company. And
Do you mind me asking how old you were at that point? Were you in your late 20s or early 30s? I have no idea.
this is how embarrassing that I don't even know.
Well, I'm not
no,
trying
I
to-
was
I'm
over
not
30.
reverse engineering your age because you're ageless to me.
I was mid 30s, 35.
Okay.
No, younger. I'm thinking. Gosh, Brian.
It's not, no one's going to audit your answer.
I was
Okay,
over
ballpark it for me.
over 30 and under 35.
Okay, perfect.
Do most people know that? Is that something I should know?
Your age, yeah, you might be able to say, I'm this old now, and Calvin is so and so old.
I was 33.
Okay, thank you. There we go. We got there. We made it. You were 33. But
Yeah.
like that's not, to me, if you just said, I'm going to put this on a dry erase board, charting out a business for myself, you leave a pretty successful design practice underneath rock, and now you have a kid, and we all know how hard those are to manage and nurture.
Yes.
And you're like, I'll just start my own firm right now. So on paper, yeah, it seems to me like that's just stress town. First kid and then starting and launching a business.
Well, going back to work was stress town, I think. I think I realized somehow that not going back to work, but leaving my house. I started my business in my house. So I had a really dear friend and client who said, if you are going to start your own company and you're going to work out of your house, you need, because we don't have any family here in Michigan.
Yeah, and you're from Nashville. And,
Yes.
So
So we didn't have any grandparents here. She was like, you need to find a really great person who can help you,
Yeah.
a nanny, basically, someone who can come every day and help you when you're working. And if you find somebody who's really great and wonderful with your kids, just hang on to them and you'll be able to do this.
Right.
Like that was the piece of advice that just really stuck with me. And I figured I'd figure out the rest of it. And so I started working like 2 days a week, and I would have a babysitter come in who became eventually our nanny.
Right.
And she was such a huge part of our lives, and it was in our house. We were all in our house. So I was downstairs or I was in an adjacent room, and I would work on my computer or I would leave for an appointment. And she would be there with Calvin, and I would come back home, and this was for years.
Yeah.
I had Oliver 3 years later, and so both my kids, I grew up with my business in the house.
Yeah.
And so that to me felt
Which
better.
sounds great and terrible at the same time, because when do you have time to think? And well, you had the nanny, so you could create some space around your day because you weren't changing every diaper, whatever. I'm
Correct.
sure it was great to check in with them, and you're in the vicinity, and you can love them when you need to, and then also go work and close the door, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that really was the key for me, was having that just guilt-free space where I could close the door and get work done and be on the phone or be on the computer, and I could literally hear their footprints upstairs. I could hear the little potty scooting across the bathroom floor, like right over my head, So
Yeah.
it was stuff like that I was able to be there for and not miss, and still slowly build my company.
Yeah, so you had the family unit sort of taken care of. So what were the next sort of building blocks to your business growth, and that, at some point you needed to have a, additional help.
Yes.
And you needed to, was it mostly residential clients at the time?
Mostly residential, yes. And I've always worked on, after working with Rock, I started working on large new construction projects.
Oh, cool.
So
large, like how?
It can be anywhere from
Are you talking residential or commercial?
residential.
Yeah.
Yes. So these are,
Yeah, large homes. We're talking
Big
5,000
houses.
square foot
Plus.
plus. Yeah.
And so you're working on that project for months,
Yeah.
sometimes 18 months, because you'll work on the plans with the architect, and then you work on specifications, and then you're working on drawings, and then you're getting everything in, and you're visiting the job site every week, and,
Yeah.
and then you're installing.
That's the other thing I'm impressed. Just as a side note, I don't mean to derail you, but
That's okay.
how much time you spend out of your office with client meetings, site visits, sourcing materials? Like, you're very much on the go every day, right?
Yes.
All over town,
Yes.
all over the state.
Yes.
It's amazing to me.
I love it.
Yeah. I love travel too. Like, I feel, part of me feels bad about being away from Kathy and the kids, but it's also like what I love to do. And I've tried to learn to feel not guilty if I'm literally working out of town, and I might be in a great location, but it's like, no, my work brought me to this place, and I'll enjoy what I can as being a guy on the road. But meaning the locations and the food, and God knows I love food. So
Food's good.
it is. But yeah, anyway, so you're building the blocks and working on big construction projects, big residential homes.
Yeah, and when I say I love it, I mean, I just love how diverse it is and how rich it is and how much there is
Yeah.
to do. So like in a day, I'm never bored. Every day is different. And that's what I think, I designed my company around being a mom.
Yeah.
So, at some point you can't do it all.
No, you can't. You cannot, not without going and driving yourself crazy with guilt or whatever, because I think you have to you've created, I think, and Kathy has in her own way in our house, creating some type of balance where you can feed your professional aspirations but more important than that is your family aspirations. So I think, but at least from the outside looking in, you seem, I know there's always bad days, but you seem to have it pretty licked.
Well, aren't we all just trying to do that? And I feel as if it's, oh gosh, this could go in so many directions, Brian.
Let's pull up Google Maps. Where are we going?
I just think about as a designer, as an interior designer, in this day and age, looking at other interior designers and seeing what you see projected out there sometimes.
How projected? What do you mean? Who's projecting?
You look on television. I don't watch a lot of these design shows.
Yeah.
But-
Okay, so this is going to be good because we were at a mutual client's opening in town, a commercial space, medical space. And we got off on this amazing little side tangent. And some of it was about these shows. So let's talk about what is projected in terms of interior design now online. I'll let you take it. So I didn't.
No, that's okay.
I just want to set the stage.
Yeah, you're setting the stage very well. Okay. And I also want to just mention that it relates to what we were talking about, which is how I built my company and how I hired people and how it grew and how I moved out of the house eventually, right?
Yeah.
So all of those things happen. But I think what happens when you are an aspiring professional, anything, is you look for other examples. You're looking, you're studying, you are looking at other people who are successful around you. And of course, we have all of these social media platforms now.
Yeah.
Like Instagram and Facebook, and there's House, which is, a platform for interiors and houses. And then you look at things like
Pinterest.
Yeah, Pinterest or HGTV. Okay? And so you just said, well, from
I think my daughters were probably, their first smartphone, which was 12 or 13, one of the first things they wanted was a Pinterest page. And I'm going back like 6, 7, 8 years, it's like.
And it's still a
they're
thing.
pinning like crazy. Maybe not so much anymore, but I think it takes a while to trickle up to adults and the demographics that you're
And then we
working
kill
with.
it. And then we kill it for the kids.
We do. It's awesome. Can't have that anymore, kid. We just took it over.
Right. The kids are like, this is so cool. And then the mom is going, I know, check mine out. Oh, that's over now.
Exactly.
But so I think
So what's getting projected? Sorry.
No, that's okay. I just think what I saw and what I imagine other young aspiring designers who want to start their own company seeing is women and men, whomever, mothers, who they think are just doing it all. And, hitting home runs.
Oh, that narrative. I'm so sorry. I'm a bad host. I didn't see where you were going. I took it in a different direction. But you're right.
It all relates, though,
No,
Brian.
it does.
It
And
all
everybody
relates.
sees. I follow mostly people in my industry in photography on Instagram, and they're all photographers I admire and video companies and other stuff. And then when you see this, and they're all over the country and many times globally, it feels like I'm not doing anything substantial.
Yeah, it feels like, and if I wanted to project a lifestyle, specifically, if I wanted to intertwine my personal life and my design life and hire someone to help me brand all of that and put it out on social media, a lot of designers can do that and do it beautifully and are very successful, and they sell the whole package. They sell themselves.
Yeah.
But I feel as if it's really hard to get past that when you are building a company, unless you can somehow just like for me, building my company was not about gosh, I don't know how to put this. I just wanted to build a company where I could be a good mom and do a really killer job. And I wanted to build a company where other people could come and be a really good parent and do a really great job.
Yeah.
Like that highly motivates me. I'm
Yeah.
highly motivated by creating a place where like what we're doing is really strong work and it's really creative, but we all understand where our priorities lie. And honestly, people work harder. You work harder and you're more focused when at the end of the day, like I want to get home.
Right.
I want to get home,
Mm-hmm.
So I come to work and I work hard and I do a great job and I get it done right. And I'm really proud of my work. And then I go home and, I try to cook something, but I mean, my house is imperfect and
Yeah.
everything.
It's a beautiful, authentic mess.
Yes. And I think that is one of the things that in our side, what you were talking about in our kind of side conversation that we had not long ago was just about projections and what people see and what they think they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
I feel as if everybody's branding themselves now, as
Yeah.
a person, not just as a company.
Yeah, not just as a service. It's really you want the Kathryn Chaplow experience, which you're saying, if people get that through the strength of our design and our team and our completion of projects and just overall set, that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not wrapping in the whole lifestyle and the perfect,
I don't
you're
like
not
it.
making the perfectly shaped Mickey Mouse pancakes in the morning and Instagramming those. That's a whole nother extra level.
Yeah, and you know what? I do make some pretty cool pancakes, but I don't put them on Instagram.
Right.
Because I also feel like I make the pancake and then, who knows, the cat's barfing in the corner. I mean, there are just those.
Yeah.
you can just, it's the filter culture that we live in, and it's a really dangerous place. For me, I do not like that lifestyle angle because I just think it's so unreal. And you set yourself up. You just set yourself up.
Right, yeah.
You know, and you give other people very unrealistic aspirations, I think.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm just like the one chick who can't pull it all off. I don't know. Everybody else can do
Maybe
it.
they are all that successful and you just don't have it together. That's a definite like undercurrent. And when I see things of certain people projecting in my industry, it's like, how do you doing all this?
Yeah.
And the truth is they're not. We're all, going back to my portraits, and people not liking some things about, we're all kind of a mess underneath. Well, nobody has it all together. Some days are great, and some days you have
Yes.
a big fat, this was a horrible, like I fell down on this one today.
This is bad.
Yeah.
But I think that is so good to let yourself have that. I don't know, like, the potty training, years of potty training in my house, and my assistant, who I did hire,
Yeah.
and who came to my house every day and parked in my, single lane driveway, and we
Yeah.
would jockey the cars around, and, and I was going upstairs and changing diapers when I could, and I was blowing noses when I needed to, know, and all of that, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
But now, I mean, you've grown out, your kids are older, they don't need that level of care, and you have a larger staff now.
Yes.
Like, I mean, they still, obviously, they need care. It's just like, it's not that immediately urgent sort of taxing parenthood that,
No.
they're great. Your boys are beautiful and they're great kids.
Thanks, I just get ramen at Costco now.
I know, yeah. Along with, what were we talking about, Costco?
TVs.
TVs, there we go. You get them ramen and you park them in front of the Costco TV in your house.
It's done.
It's a 180-inch screen TV.
Yes.
Perfect. But now a staff of 5 underneath you, right?
I'm the fifth one.
You're the fifth, so you have 4. Mm-hmm. So how? I don't want to get too much of the weeds, but I'm very interested in how each of those people work underneath you.
Okay.
Do they have each of their own sort of tasks or their own design projects underneath you, or are they all sort of in service? I don't mean that in a bad way, but just in service to your vision, or how are you?
They're not all
delegating?
underlings, Brian.
No, I know they aren't. That's why I'm interested in knowing, because you give them a lot of autonomy and freedom.
No, they're really amazing. So we have a group of 4, and Kendra, Melissa, Rachel, and Elizabeth. And Rachel and Elizabeth are both interior designers.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth works sometimes in tandem with me on projects, and other times she's leading, and Rachel works with her.
Perfect.
And so Rachel is a more recent graduate, and so it's a perfect kind of system for us. And with Melissa and Kendra, they are both, like, they strongly support projects from an organizational coordination, oversight.
Yeah.
So they're looking at everything from the business, the books, to the finances from an estimating billing
Yeah.
perspective.
Because that's one of my challenges. I can't always do everything, and I have to have help, and you just can't be. There's a lot of blind spots, especially when it's a visual, client-centered service industry. That's gonna. You just can't always worry about, like, did we invoice for that like
No.
30 days ago, and why? I mean, you can it can kill you sometimes for cash flow.
And I don't even know how I did it before. I used to do all of that, and now I don't even know how it works.
Right.
I do know how it works.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
But I couldn't do the job.
Right.
And I feel sort of like I've been really fortunate to find these people who I trust and who do a much better job than I can do at it. But we always work as a team on our projects. So there's a lot of exchange and there's a lot of camaraderie. It's not like we have these people who are siloed over here. Everybody studied design.
Yeah.
And this is kind of how they naturally evolved into their roles. This is what they all really like.
And yeah, was it hard to try to foster that, or did it just each of those staff, your key peeps, it just revealed themselves to like their natural talents? It
was pretty intentional.
Yeah.
It was a lot of conversation, actually. So like with Melissa, who I hired first, I at one point said to her, I want you to take on a project on your own and design this and see how you like it. Because she was always supporting me, always supporting me, always supporting me. And she was so good and so talented, very, very organized and thorough. And I was like, just try this out on your own. And she did, and the client was thrilled, and it was a very positive experience. But she was like, yeah, I think I want to do this project management piece.
Oh, cool. And you're like, sweet, because that's an element a lot of people don't want to do, I would imagine. Like,
And it couldn't have been better.
Yeah.
It was perfect. It was
Yeah.
perfect because then we knew. We knew. It wasn't like I was holding her back or the company wasn't structured in a way that would foster her to grow. It was really like, let's try this. And she's like, no. This is really what I want to do.
yeah.
And that's kind of how it's been with everyone. So I check in, we have conversations as a group. We talk about where everybody fits and what do you want to do? I mean, why not?
Yeah.
We're small and we can make sure people are doing what they want to
Well, there's
do.
enough to do to make every day different, for everybody, because I think, you're a busy, bustling firm, and to me, on one hand, to have 4 people working with you professionally full-time all the time means to me, in my world, that's a pretty big practice on some scale. But you're also small and nimble enough that, so-and-so, can you please run and pick up these things? Because I just got buried with another blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, it's
Flexible.
yeah, it's
It
flexible.
is.
But all right, so I'm really interested in your design aesthetic because I want to know a couple things. One is, when did you feel like the 10,000 hours idea, when you really started to have a voice as a designer, and you can divorce yourself from the ego and sort of the,
Don't
But
get hung
what-
up. Yeah.
don't get hung, but
yeah.
when did you really feel like I am a good designer and I have my own voice as a designer and a
Right.
palette that you, like, how long did that take, and did you have a moment where you're like, I'm really capable at this? And I think it's okay. I think as creatives, I tend to push some of that down and golly gee, oh shucks. But in the
Right.
last few years, especially, I'm trying to allow myself to say, these are my strengths and these are things it's okay to say,
Yes.
I'm really good at this.
Feel like a boss.
Yeah, at least like competent but with your own voice. So that's what in the creative world, people come to you for a certain aesthetic. You're going to get something.
I think they come to us too, like for our service, our level of service. So it's not just the look. I think a big part of it is like the experience, and that is really driven by experience. So your question is a really good one. I mean, I feel as if a lot of that came with age. Part of it was just experience and owning my business. Because when you own your business, you are the boss.
Yeah.
So you aren't looking for anybody else's approval. You are just delivering to your client. And when I think after a certain age, that came to me too, Brian, like just in general, like personally,
Yeah.
I just started to feel like my opinion had a certain weight to it
Yeah.
that I didn't maybe value before. And I started to see myself like almost from overhead in the room.
Yes. This is a really good thing because I think it's so important. I think of people that are attuned to what we talked about originally, like you're able to really receive sort of this energy from people and sort of understand kind of where their mindset is at. I think also there's sort of this detached thing where you can see yourself almost in a third person kind of moment when you need to.
Yes.
And that's a skill I don't think they're not self-aware in a way that they're channeling sort of back and forth this
Youth,
younger.
younger, or
Yeah, youth.
less
It might be youth,
experienced.
but it's like more in confidence. But I think over the years, if you're able to like kind of see yourself in situations, even pre-visualizing like a big client pitch or something, that's really useful over time. I think with age to go, you just kind of own that. Like you have that confidence because you really aren't insecure about how you're presenting yourself because you've sort of seen yourself in that world,
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's pulling off something you weren't sure you could do.
Yeah.
Also, like when you put yourself in a situation or you get an opportunity to do something that is really going to stretch you and you're a little insecure,
Yeah.
and you really bring it, and then you pull it off, that is a huge confidence builder.
Getting back to our sidebar conversation, I at a client's, we got off on a really interesting track about the trend in shows and interior design, and it's an exploding thing with Netflix and all that. So tee up kind of, there's varying opinions because there's a yin and a yang to it. So how's that pose challenges when everyone has a Pinterest? They've all watched what's her name?
Marie Kondo.
Yeah. And whatever, the, makeover shows that are,
Right.
my kids love them. They
Endless.
watch them all the time. Yeah. But what kind of challenges does that present for you?
Well,
We can be candid. I don't think nothing needs to be like, some of it's good and bad. I used a term earlier in our photo shoot. Some aspects of design are sort of like I said McDonaldized.
that was I loved that you said that. That
Yeah.
was such a clever analogy.
Yeah, and I eat at McDonald's. So if they want to still sponsor this podcast, I love McDonald's. But the point is, it's for everyone, and everyone kind of can have access to a certain level of that sort of thing. So, or design, or there's a
Yes.
certain way to think about hamburgers versus like, this is how a kitchen should look, or this is how you should orient a room. I don't know.
Right.
What do you
No.
think? You take it.
No, I love that you used McDonald's and that you just said it's accessible to everybody. So that's the thing that's really great about how much exposure design in general gets now. It's so accessible. I think about when I was growing up, and I think about people lamenting about how other countries had better design than us.
Europe specifically.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, wherever.
Yeah.
People would just, well, it's so much cooler here or there, and you just felt like you were missing something being in Hendersonville, Tennessee. You're like, I know the service merchandise catalog is going to have what I need to make my room smoking hot,
Right.
But it was like, I feel as if now it's all so accessible. You can go onto Pinterest and you can watch a show that's walking in Paris live.
Right.
There is some editor who is sitting there with their phone streaming it.
Right.
So there's no excuse anymore, right? We all have this accessibility to everything immediately. So our design awareness is heightened. Things look better. You mentioned McDonald's. I mean, go into McDonald's, go into Wendy's, and look at how they're designing their spaces now.
Oh, it's miles away, and they're using color and mood and texture to create an aesthetic and they're intentional about how they want their customer bases to feel, and that's driven by interior designers and interior architects.
Yes, so people are valuing design. They see
Yeah.
the value in design the way they may not have in the past, which is huge because it brings value to what we do.
Right.
But
the
there's
challenge of that is what?
So the challenge is that the accessibility also means that everyone is seeing the exact same stuff at the exact same moment. And so you have an illusion. People have an illusion that what they're seeing is unique and it's cutting edge because they're watching it live.
Yeah.
But so are all these other people. Millions of, it's like when people bring us images from Pinterest and House. This is what we were talking about, you
Yeah.
and I, on this project we were working on together. It is really helpful because you get insight into what they like. Designers have always asked for inspiration images.
Sure.
Cut them out of a magazine, bring
Yeah.
me a book, bring me photos of places you've traveled, whatever it is. Designers like to get a little picture and some insight into what their clients like. With Pinterest and House and those kinds of platforms, Instagram, what we see is that, I could meet with 3 clients within a span of 3 weeks, and they could all bring me the exact same images.
Yeah.
And they have no idea. I'm not going to say, oh, I've already seen this
Yeah.
3 other times.
Well, and with technology too, it's like the algorithms can all be, if you're searching for, kitchen tile, some of the more popular imagery and the clicks on those are going to perpetuate that same imagery coming up. So there's a technology internet sort of problem. But I think what you're saying to me, I think in one way is that it's hard to find a voice as a designer, like to then, what if your view is like quite different for what you want for that space, and you have to then reacclimate the client towards
Yes, two
different
things.
Yeah.
It's two things. So there's one thing is that designers can fall into the exact same trap as the consumer.
Yeah.
So designers wind up regurgitating the exact same ideas. One, because it's like a fire hose of these trends. So they're just inundated with it.
Right.
And their clients are asking for it. So
Yeah.
designers fall into that trap. And the second thing is that then if you can't show your client evidence of your idea, sometimes they don't even want to do it.
Right.
They want evidence. They want to know that it will work. And if they can't find that someone else has
Yeah.
done it, sometimes
They
they're
don't
like,
wanna
I
be the
can't find that.
They don't want to be the nail sticking out there, and it goes, oh, what happened there? Like what that, they want, yeah.
So what does that do to originality? It really
Yeah.
tampers originality. Even the things that you think are original, there are some really cool original interior designers out there, and all kinds of artists, fashion designers, whomever. But then they get so overexposed, or an idea feels original and cool, and I get excited about it. And then it gets so overexposed, it's over. It's the kiss of death.
Yeah. Well, what I really admire about your designs over the years, I've been in many, many of the homes you've designed for clients, and there is a thread through it all that I can probably, without even knowing if you designed the home or not, if I'd never been in it, I'd probably go, I think Kathryn designed this. And there's a certain palette that's very different. You use a lot of shapes and textures that are not down that beaten path. Like there are a lot of like bold things that you guys do that I think on paper, if you were to show me a wallpaper sample or a carpet sample, and I'm like, I don't know how this would all come together. And that's another challenge designers have, is like, trust me, when we get this up on the wall, it's
Yes.
going to be great. But you guys really have a distinctive visual voice and aesthetic that's consistent time and time again. It's all
Thanks.
different. They're all
Unique.
It's not cookie cutter. You're not doing the same things over and over again. That's not what I'm saying. It's just like, it's just how you layer palettes of color and texture, and
Thanks.
is really, really interesting to see, because I think it's like any other painter or somebody who really has, may push the boundaries of things, but that that's their work.
It's like a voice. You can recognize it. I think you said a really key word, though, which was that I can't remember what sentence you said, but you used the word trust. And that's, I think, at the heart, honestly, of a good design, is having the trust of your client. Like you taking my photograph,
Yeah, you have to trust me that I'm going to interpret those designs in a way that you're going to like.
I can't question you over and over again. Well, should I be doing this, Brian? Shouldn't I be doing this? I have to let you direct and let you say, I think you should do this. And could you please, that trust is what gives you the best result. And I mean, it is challenging if you don't have.
Well, let's talk about this, because I think it's related, and this might articulate the issue a little bit better, is that there's no reason to hire you, Kathryn Chaplow, Interior Design, and your body of work if you want what you saw Chip and Johanna put out in 3 of their houses. You're not going to duplicate that.
No.
So when people are shopping, in a sense, or searching for the right fit as an interior designer, they have to look at your body of work, the photographs me and other photographers have taken of your work, to say, this is us, this is what we do. And if you don't make us go do something that's sort of outside of this, because
Yes.
that's where it all falls down. And that's when you can't, I'm sure you've had to say no to projects sometimes because it just aren't aesthetically what you do, and you feel like you're just shoehorning something into a project, and that's no fun.
I've really enjoyed working on traditional, like really traditional projects lately, because I feel as if there's an originality somehow in some of those old.
What do you mean by traditional projects?
I mean, like, houses that just feel like they're old. They don't have trends in them. You know, I like to do things that are exciting and feel fashion forward and have an aesthetic that is current. But sometimes it's really cool when you have a client who is not tapped into that at all.
Right.
They're just not. They're not. You know, we work with one client in particular who just doesn't ever look at that stuff. Not at all.
Yeah.
And if I tell her I saw something at an estate sale, you know, we were talking about how to store tablecloths. And I was like, well, I was at this estate sale, and the little old lady who owned the house, this is how she designed her linen closet. And she, you know, this client lit up. That's what I want to know. That's what she wanted to know. Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of stuff that I think is so, this is another conversation you and I have talked about. There's like this kind of missing, or this ebbing element of like craft and things that get passed down.
Narrow, very narrow, excellent expertise in this sort of like.
And
you
tradition.
You work with, you know, textile makers. You work that might be able to still do custom things with carpenters that can do amazing mantles and you know, woodwork and all that. And these are disappearing more and more.
Yes.
And you really lament that. Like and you're some of the most fascinating people that I think that you've talked to me about are like, I just talking to the guy that's laying bricks at this house.
Yes.
And he's this mason and he has all these ideas about brick and, you know, like
Yeah,
he's
fourth generation.
Yeah.
Fourth generation. I get like a physical, I don't know how to explain it. I get super pumped up when we talk about stuff like this because I feel as if that is what I probably love the most about this work is working with people who are like, they hold some kind of magic, you know, in the work they do.
Yeah.
And they have this information that is not in a book. It's not at a school. It's not online.
Right.
Like you have to sit right next to them and watch to understand what they do. And
so much might be plaster work.
Yeah.
Or, you know, some of it looks effortless because they're professionals. Like they're good at what they do.
And they have all this history behind them. I mean, I feel like one of the crafts that is really, I don't know who's going to come up and do like window treatments. We love window treatments and use them in all of our projects. If you look online, you know, it just brings so much to a space. And there's a real skill to understanding. It's just like tailoring clothing and understanding how fabric is going to drape and what has to be lined and what has to be interlined and when you need to block the light so it doesn't cause your fabric.
This is right in my wheelhouse. This whole
Are you feeling it?
Yeah, I mean, I could go on and on.
Yeah.
But there's one thing that I was thinking about with drapes, and I am interested because you do so much custom things in your homes.
Yeah, we do a lot.
Which speaks to your clientele and the investment your clients are putting into their homes or their businesses or whatever it might be. So you are able to do some custom things that are completely outside the box or like inspired by some other element in the design or architecture, and you can just call those out because you can do that, which is a huge luxury.
It is a luxury.
You know, you're not going to put custom treatments in a new downtown, studio condo.
You might.
Well, you might.
I might.
not the college kid who just graduated.
No, you're not going to have them in a dorm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to that extent, I mean, the material, so we're talking about real materials, real artists, artistry within those trades, that is in danger.
I think it is. I think people, so I see that there's this really cool kind of cultural movement with food. I've talked, and with food, it feels as if somehow that, I don't know if I should even call it an industry, but that field or that chefs and people who source food and who make cheese and who raise cows, somehow they've managed to create a new narrative in the last decade or two, you know, about food and how special it is and how important it is and how the ingredients matter. And they've elevated it. So young people are interested in making cheese.
Right.
Young people are interested in raising chickens.
Yeah.
You know, they're interested in making ice cream.
Yeah. Or they're working with, like, to bring it to your trade, they might be doing upholstery. Or
But they're not.
Well, they're not, the kids aren't, is what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That our industry has not managed.
So it's more threatened than these other, because people kind of get excited about food and those traditions, and it seems to be.
We need to do that.
Yeah. As in a design industry,
Yes.
how are you fostering this passion with the young kids to reinterpret and find their own voice with whatever trade that it
Yes.
is?
There are a lot of parallels, and I think it's happening with furniture, and I think it's happening with some elements, but there are people who make lampshades, you know, beautiful custom lampshades.
Right.
How many people in their 20s are interested in that? You know, I mean, that's,
In making them, you're saying?
yes, and it sounds ridiculous, but there's a whole field of talent and expertise like upholstery and window treatment fabrication and wallpaper installation and custom finishes on furnishings, these traditional arts and crafts that I think are untapped, kind of like the cheese and the ice cream and the artisanal salt, you know?
Well, the other part of that you've talked about in the past that I remember from these other conversations we have is that it requires a significant investment over generations by the client to say value that, because it does cost more, and doesn't play into your thinking about those investments and creating legacies around objects in people's homes, functional objects. But the other side is to go to the other side, where to this McDonaldized sort of products that are mass made in China and other places, and they cost what they cost. You can go to IKEA or whatever; it's cheap, and there's that thing. And so it's a throwaway culture versus a sustainable, traditional legacy furniture, all kinds of things.
Yes. So, yes, that is a really good point. And that's the whole Marie Kondo, HGTV, let's do a room in 10 days thing. I take a lot of that to heart, and I have a lot of issues with that. Like the idea that we should do a room. I understand that there is a place for that, and that accessibility is important. But there are times when if you make an investment in a piece and you build a collection over time, you keep all that stuff. You keep it.
Yeah.
You don't throw away the end table and the lamp. How about this? How about don't get the lamp yet? Get a really solid table.
Right.
You know, and how about you wait and you find a really killer lamp that costs a little more and you keep the lamp.
Yeah, it's about that. Those shows create this impatience. It's like, I'm going to go out on a Saturday and I'm going to go to IKEA and a few other places in Bed Bath & Beyond. And I'm going to have 4 rooms of my house done in, a 10-hour day.
Presto.
Done. Yeah, presto's. That's a great word.
You like that? So
Well, as a bad negative, yeah. I mean, as like that mindset is bad to like have a presto about a place you're going to spend a third of your life in or more.
it's like the microwave room. And then, is that really good for you? Is that really nutritious? No. I mean, I honestly believe that if you...
I did heat up your water in a microwave earlier.
It tastes good.
Yeah.
I believe that when you collect things over time and you leave space for a room to evolve, that it is better. It's better, and you like your stuff longer, and you don't want to get rid of everything and replace everything.
Right.
And how about reupholster the chair instead of throwing it out?
Yeah.
I mean, again, there's a layer of stuff that should rotate, but you don't. I don't know. I just think investing differently is something that we could be looking at too.
And it's hard because all the cultural currents, visually, media streams, and all that is counterintuitive to what you just described. So the long-term value is finding, a good fit with your clients who sort of understand that or trust you around that. And and that's the other thing is I've done. The other thing this is a compliment.
Thanks.
Is I will see you years after working with the same client, or I'll end up shooting, for some reason, I'll be shooting a home that you designed 5 years ago, but for some reason I'm in this home shooting something that's unrelated to documenting your work.
Oh, yeah.
And you will come, unbeknownst to me, to kind of like shush some things up, make sure it looks good. Like you have such an ongoing, long relationships in clients that's very special and different.
Yes.
Usually like, design my house, thank you, they would never think to call you, their other, an interior designer to help them because they want the room to look good because there's some other type of photo shoot going on in it.
Well, we don't do Presto. We try to really, what I think bonds the designer to the client really is that understanding it's a relationship based on editing. If you can help your client discover their own aesthetic, their own voice, through a lot of inquiry, observation, reflection, like you tell your client, you know what? You've looked at that 3 times and second guessed yourself. How about we use it? Like you keep going back to that. Let's just work around it. It doesn't matter if you can't find it on House.
Right.
It resonates with you. And when you do that and you design a space and your clients see themselves so like authentically designed into the space and they didn't follow these leads that they thought they were supposed to be following and they followed their authentic path and you're just there kind of pushing them along and editing and saying, no, don't, that would be a mistake.
Yeah.
That's my job.
Yeah, you'll pull them back from over the edge, but but they have instincts too that are meaning something. It might not be rooted in, platforms and pillars of design theory.
But they are going to live there.
Yeah, exactly.
So like that is I think that is when you're successful at that, then why would they why are they going to work with somebody else?
Right.
Like we've just made this investment. We got this.
Yeah.
And then you got to go do another project because it's so fun.
It is. Well, here's a segue. Mm-hmm. It's been really fun talking to you today.
Thanks, Brian.
This was our project.
This was our project.
Photo shoot and a conversation. Well, I can't wait to talk to you again down the road. I know we will chat again. Was there any final thoughts? Was there anything you thought you would talk about? It's not like I have a big track record as a podcaster, but
just Marie Kondo. I thought we'd talk about her more.
Yeah,
that was the only
trash her. We're gonna cancel her. Start a letter writing campaign to Netflix.
Her stuff shaming show. I think she's adorable and sweet, but I think people are throwing away too many things out of just guilt
or just for the sake of having something new.
Yeah, so I just think you got to reassess, reevaluate, collect more thoughtfully, and don't just pitch everything.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry,
so
that wasn't a good way.
What's the best way to reach you? Your website. What's your website URL?
KathrynChaplow.com.
Really? You are a first last name .comer?
Is that lame?
No, it's amazing.
Is it?
I'm
Maybe
a .netter.
You're a
I'm
.netter?
such a low on the totem pole. Yeah, .net. Don't get me started because I already am a ball of insecurity, and if you start picking on my domain, it's over.
You're so much cooler than me, Brian.
No.
I can only
Please.
try.
You have a .com domain.
I do, but I mean, Conduit Studios helped us figure all that stuff out. There's no other Kathryn Chaplow. That's a weird combo.
That's true.
So it was easy to get.
Yeah, out of your freakishness, that was available.
Helped.
So that's good.
It helped. Presto.
Presto, there it was, and I bought it for $9.
For $9, yes.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. It was really
Talk to
fun.
you soon.
I enjoyed it.
All right. And presto, just like that, this episode has come to a conclusion. That was fun with Kathryn. I think you can tell she oozes kindness. She oozes desire and passion for her field and for her clients. And she's just cool. So go to KathrynChaplow.com. See her residential and commercial designs. They're absolutely spectacular. And if anything, it's amazing eye candy to see what she comes up with. Hey, continue to share the podcast. Tell a friend about it. Follow us on Facebook at just search for Full Exposure with Brian Kelly. Same thing on Instagram. We're at Full Exposure Podcast. We'll see you next time on Full Exposure with Brian Kelly. Get out there, guys. Kill it. It's yours for the taking. What other inspirational quotes can I come up with? Just go get it, everybody, and have fun doing it, all right? Take care.